New York is finally a red state. The communist state of New York is upon us. The Socialist Republic of New York under Comrade Mandani. Under Mandani's regime, there will be affordable housing and allegedly complete Israeli persecution. Now, I'm not going to lie, that's the real reason why he got elected, and it seems that every single Democratic candidate, well, Democratic representative, as in Bernie Sanders, Gavin Newsom, these guys, they're all under the assumption, including AOC, that how Mandani won was not solely him taking a stand against Israel as one of the few, if not the only candidate in New York to do so, and that's what won him the election. They're attributing it to his affordable housing policy, which definitely is one of the major reasons as to why he won, but it's not the only reason. The only reason is really Israel. His stance on Israel, saying that he focuses on New Yorkers, is what got him attention in the first place. He was an unknown. He had maybe a 1% to 3% chance of winning the election, and with that, it was enough. It was for him to take a stand for New York solely, not for outside interests, not for Israeli investment to AIPAC. He didn't accept any. This was an unreal turnaround, and I think it's showing that the younger generation, which is the ultimate threat to an Israeli regime, is realizing that we don't need Israel. They need us more than we need them. In fact, we're not getting anything out of it whatsoever. I mean, I've talked about this time and time again. The reality is we're just getting cooked. We're sending them infinite amounts of money to be our greatest ally. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of things had to go right for this to work out. Cuomo found to be, liking his women. What can I say? He likes his women. That and Siwa also in the mix as the hard Republican, even though Cuomo, he had to run as a Democrat, even though he really is a Republican. So it really fucked up. Adams just had to straight up drop out. He was forced to drop out, and you can tell where his allegiances truly lie. As soon as he dropped out, he said, I'm flying out of here. I'm getting out of the city. He moved out of the city as soon as he lost the election. If that doesn't tell you the priorities of these guys, I don't know what does. And the priorities being wealth. They don't actually care about the people. What's even more interesting is after the election, Trump said that he was going to send in the National Guard, as he does. He was going to send in the troops. He was going to sanction New York. He pretty much had a temper tantrum that his home state was the most blue it could have ever been. And as a result, he wanted to meet with Mandani, and Mandani flew to the White House, and he now has fallen in love. It was love at first sight, which is strange to see. Most people agree that it is very concerning, to say the least, that he met with Mandani and absolutely fell in love with him. We'll see what he says about him in the next 2 days, because really, Trump's opinions on people change immediately, depending on how people perceive him and what he says about them and what people say about him. But at the moment, they're on good terms, I guess. They agreed on housing, which seems to be a pressing issue for most Americans, even though housing, not to go off on a tangent, is really just caused by companies outside of the U.S. buying up U.S. land. That's really the cause of the housing crisis. It's a manufactured crisis by massive companies buying up land all across the United States, and there needs to be government regulation for that, but it seems like greed has gotten in the way. You see, legislation is rarely passed in defense of the people. It's usually in defense of a corporation or corporate interest. We'll see how this changes in New York, of course. Fox News is freaking out about all the people that he's been appointing. They've all been somewhat socialist in nature, obviously, like the sociology professor Alex Vitale, who wrote a book on ending policing, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that's necessarily Mandami's plan. I know he got a lot of pushback on that, and he has since changed his stance on policing. He said that it was in the lieu of George Floyd back in 2020, and that's understandable. Now, it's going to be an interesting experiment, to say the least, on what New York is going to look like a year from now, maybe even 2 years from now. The most interesting thing about all of this, though, is that he was able to take on the Democratic institution, or at least the Republican institution, and honestly the Democratic institution. Bernie himself has said that the fact that Zohran was able to take both on and win is a near impossible feat. But again, these guys completely forget that the reason he did was because he took a stance that they both don't take, and one that people truly believe in, and that's taking a stance against Israel. Politicians are not going to make that stance, and the answer is clear, is because their checks are going to get cut. They're not going to get reelected. A huge part of their donor base is AIPAC. These are the people that are putting people in charge. But you know what? It actually did give me hope. When Zohran got elected, it did make me realize that people can change through voting. It's one of those few votes where I was like, damn, this one actually mattered. This vote in particular, this moment in history, specifically for New York State, shows that the people there are still in control of their government. It's not completely corrupt with lobbying and all this other bullshit. And you know what? It's funny. This Zohran campaign really runs similar and parallel to what Trump originally ran on. And I think that's why Trump likes him, is because Trump was running on affordable housing and other affordable goods for Americans. And not only that, he was running to drain the swamp until he became the swamp. We'll see what happens to Zohran if he immediately falls into the fold. It looks like that he's already friendly with Trump, which again, there's nothing wrong with being friendly with Trump. We'll see exactly how this unfolds. Hopefully he doesn't get corrupt. I don't think he will. I think he's probably still in a surreal state. Be interesting to see what he thinks about finally becoming mayor, especially probably because he himself admitted that there is probably a low chance of becoming mayor. I think 1 or 3%, perhaps even 6 or 7. Anyways, that's all I want to talk about today, guys. I'll talk to you later.